And I read the comments anytime you post something. Like, how do you manage? So why are you so sad? And tell us about crazy fans.
Look. I mean, you do in this job that you spend so much time around these guys. You develop relationships with some of them. Some of them you like as people, and the more of those that you can have around, the better. Obviously, Tyus was a good player, but just a phenomenal human being. I would love after games to just sit and pick his brain. Like, he's a really smart basketball guy. Tell me what you're seeing. Educate me. Like, bring me in a little bit. And he was willing to do that. And so he was able to give me a perspective on the team and what was going on. And he was willing to take the time to do that. That was very helpful. And so, yeah, we grew to have a really good relationship. We talked. I think he's the only interview he's done so far. We did it the night he signed that deal, and so yeah, on that part of it, you say, man, that stinks that he's gone. It stinks that Anthony Tolliver's gone, another super good dude that I love to talk basketball with. That didn't look down upon the media and welcomed us in a little bit, and so. You see these guys go, and it's too bad. But you do understand some of the decisions that are made. I mean, what clearly Gerson Rosas decided was that Tyus is a backup in this league. He tried to get Darius Garland in the draft, tried to get D'Angelo Russell in free agency. It's clear that they did not think Tyus Jones was going to be a long-term starter for this team. Tyus believes he can be that guy. And so... their evaluation will be, we'll see over these next 2-3 years of the situation where you say, if Tyus kind of takes a big jump up and they're still looking for a long-term point guard 2 years from now, and Tyus looks like a guy who could have held it down, that's not going to look good on their resume. But if he is just kind of what he is and is Ja Morant's backup and all of those things, then you say, I understand that, because it opens up other possibilities with their salary cap, because they cannot afford, while they still have Wiggins and Teague and Jang on their roster, they can't afford to miss on a $9-10 million player. If they do, they're just screwed for a while.
Thanks to Bite Squad, bitesquad.com, or the Bite Squad app. They've been supporting the network for a while now. They deliver restaurant-quality food, just like it's coming out of the kitchen to your door or your office. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. You can sign up for their member deal. They get for $5.99 a month. You get free delivery within 4 miles. They've been great with us. They've been great when I've ordered from them, and they make it really easy. They make meals easy, no cleanup, no waiting in line, no reservations, no traffic, no weather worries. BiteSquad.com or the Bite Squad app. I'm going to have Steve Terry tell us a little bit about TSR Injury Law, which has been supporting the show for a long time. And then I want the next topic for you gentlemen to be either A, Jeff Muniche just experienced another birthday. I think he's 39 and a half again. And he is one of the great people in Minnesota sports. And the other topic is NBA free agency. Every once in a while, I just run some of these old schools like, why can't these guys just accept, why don't they just stay in one place and play for the team that does? I think NBA free agency is fascinating. So Muniche and NBA free agency, but first tell us about TSR Injury Law.
It's always interesting when I know people and they know what I do, and then they call me with really weird questions like, hey, this person's really hurt. Can you help them? I'm like, do you listen or read a billboard? And you listen to a commercial. It's just, if you're injured, call us. And so it made me think of a young man that I met with a couple weeks ago. And obviously can't get too much into it, but it's just the story is kind of interesting because he was at a birthday party. It's him and 5 other 14-year-olds. And they didn't want some other kids to play with them. They weren't part of the party. They were just like some neighbors. And long story short, these neighbor kids got mad, so they decided to take a hammer and throw it at the kids while they were playing basketball. The claw hits my client in the head, fractures his skull. He has emergency surgery, removes part of his skull, and he has a brain injury. So it's a tragic deal. He's making recovery. He's got a long road to go, but I get this call from kind of a friend who goes, yeah, they really, the parents are freaking out. They have all these bills, all these surgeries, and they have health insurance, but all the co-pays and just all the questions. Can you help? And I just go, is he injured? Call me. I'm like, of course I can help. And so when I met with that family, it was actually a pretty quick meeting because they were rightfully so focused on their son. And so really what we bring is we show up, we answer some questions, as many as you want, but just sign a couple pieces of paper, and then you go back and you focus on family. And that's what they did. They went back and they supported their son. In the meantime, we're getting bills paid. We're getting homeowners coverage. We're not suing the neighbor kid. I mean, you deal with it. There's homeowners coverage, all kinds of ways to pay for bills and set things up. And so that's what we do. And it's very simple, but it just makes me somewhat shake my head when it's like, if you're injured, I would rather you call and ask us some questions for free. If we can't help, we send you on your way. At least you know more information. If we can help, then we're going to go ahead. So back to Jeff. He's a good guy.
Yeah, happy birthday, Mune. One of the all-time great guys. And we talk about how I have to deal with sort of unpleasant Wolves fans or unhappy Wolves fans all the time, and sort of the negativity and stuff. He does it at an unbelievable level. I mean, he tells us like he gets 300 emails a day from people, and either it's positive or negative, but the guy is, I've never seen him a day in my life like mad or sad. Like, he is always upbeat. He has held many positions in the Timberwolves office. He knows where all the bodies are buried, but he'll never tell anyone about it. And just an invaluable person to have around there for a franchise that has struggled to connect and has struggled on the court. To have someone be able to smooth things over with the fan base that gets so invested and trusts in Mune to take care of them, to help them through their days, to set up things that make them feel a little better about stuff. Just an all-time great dude. So happy birthday, Mune.
What's interesting about free agency is there is no off season, and I'm constantly checking Twitter. I'm at the cabin. I'm like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And like what Kawhi did behind the scenes is just unbelievable. But I always still try to look at it from our perspective, from the Timberwolves, and the timing is important. And so when Rosas is like, we need people that are similar to Cat's age so we can grow together, that makes more sense to me than going to get Westbrook or Chris, whatever, because we might not even make the playoffs this year. Okay, right. That's like legit. Even with progress, we might not make the playoffs. And two, we sure as hell aren't winning a championship. So I think that as I get excited about watching the Lakers playing the Clippers, just because it'll be entertaining as hell to see the superstars bang. But what's more interesting is let that generation kind of clear out and all go to the Hall of Fame, and then let the young groups like ours come forward. So I'm still excited about what we're building. Yeah,
and here's the challenge that they have that everyone loves, or a lot of people love free agency for player movement. Like teams are changing on a yearly basis in a significant way, and that's exciting. It's fun to watch Kawhi turn his back on a championship team and go to LA and start his own thing with Paul George. That's compelling and super cool. I do think that some fans kind of see, okay, when we're in a smaller market, who's leaving to come to Minnesota?
Well, they're also like, oh, Cat's going to leave us. I'm like, he hasn't even started his contract. No. We're already worried about Cat.
That's exactly it. But the one thing on that is I understand where fans might get a little worn out, like, I can't get attached to any of these guys. Like, I want to root for these guys for 7, 8, 9 years. Like, I hope that we develop this relationship and we go for it. But with Cat, first of all, yes, he has starting a 5-year deal this upcoming. They have some time to build around him and get going. But also, they do have to understand that these guys can start orchestrating their way out with multiple years left on their deal if things are not going their way. So front offices are under the gun more today than they've ever been to build sustainable models around their stars. And in Toronto's case, you can do everything totally right, still lose the guy. So what does that mean? That means that what you have to do as an owner of an NBA team is assemble a front office that can build something sustainable and weather the storm when, even if it's for totally out of your control, your main guy wants to go somewhere else. And that can happen to the best organizations and the worst organizations. And so it's incumbent upon Rosas and Pascucci and Gupta and Sika and all of these guys who are now comprising this Wolves front office to make sure that there is always a pipeline of talent that's being developed. Now, it doesn't mean you always have another Karl Anthony Towns in your lineup, but if the worst case thing happens 4 years from now and he says, I want out, then you can do the Presti thing where you get a great return on your investment, you make something happen, and the pathway from that reset to where you're relevant again is relatively short. That's going to be the key for every organization going forward, as long as these contracts are only 5 or 4 or 3 years anymore.
It seems like the commissioners are going to work on that. That there's like, you can't be 3 years in a 5 max contract and basically say, yeah, trade me. Like, what's the point of having a contract?
Well, yeah, but that's, I mean, you know, that's, it's the chicken or the egg thing there, because what the last CBA shortened contracts dramatically because owners were being stupid and handing out 9-year deals to guys who can't play. And so to protect themselves, they said, we're only going for 5 years the max, 4 years for most contracts. And that's the way that we want to do it. Now, the players saw that and said, well, wait a minute. Okay, you guys are trying to protect yourselves. We're going to protect ourselves. So I'm not going to take that 5-year deal. I'm not going to take that 4-year deal. I'm going to take a 1+1. And so I constantly have more leverage in these negotiations if I'm a big-time superstar type of a player. And that's what's sort of kind of thrown everything into upheaval here. I mean, even Kawhi and Paul George going to the Clippers, they didn't take their full 4-year maxes there. It was 3+1, I think. And so I don't know how the owners sort of wrestle some of that power back that they gave to the players in that way in exchange for a huge portion of the revenues that the players gave back. That's going to be the tricky thing.
Well, think about this. You have 2 players with year-long injuries that sign max contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it just shows what talent costs in this league.
I mean, Durant is not going to play for a long time, and he is dictating where he's going and signing a max contract. So, if anything, that should make other top players, not worry so much about, because it's like you're going to get your money no matter what.
That was it. Like Kawhi, when Kawhi was going to hit the free agent market, and just after Durant in the finals blew out his Achilles, everyone said, "Well, he's going to take the most years he can because look what happened to Durant." But then Durant gets the max deal, and Kawhi's like, I don't have to take that. I'm one of the 3 best players in this league. So even if one of my legs gets amputated, as soon as I get my robotic leg back, they're gonna give me a max deal. And they should, because that's the difference maker that one of the top 5 players in the league can do for you. You can change the fortunes of a franchise immeasurably right away.
And that's why Gerson's always, he talks about the Rockets model. You need stars. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, we have one. Nas Reed. You like that segue?
Very well, segue.
I know you have to have a good Vegas story.
Yeah.
But before, so I'm watching the Vegas stuff. These announcers are god awful.
Yeah. Well,
okay? I don't know who they are. Whatever. But, they're saying Nas Reed is 18 years old. I'm like, I don't think that's legal. Even I know, I'm like, no, he's 19. You can Google it. He looks like he's 42, but beyond that. And then they go, man, 2nd-round pick. I'm like, no. I'm like, come on, man.
Do your homework, man.
Do your homework. So they need to step that up. But, I know you love Vegas, so tell us a good story.
But first, Nas Reed, it does look good. On a team that needs bigs, he, I think, in a year or two, can be a rotation player for them.
He's 19, right?
Yeah, he's 19, yeah. And he shoots it like Cat. He does, free and easy. He's big. He moves his feet. He can pass. He's not a great defender. But, you put him in Iowa, you put him in a system and let him develop in a year and a half, you might really have something there.
This 2-way contract, and again, it's Timberwolves fan pessimism, but they're like, oh my gosh, Nas is great. Now we're going to lose him. And I'm wait, whoa. Hold on.
Slow down.
So can you explain what a 2-way is?
Yeah. So a 2-way is, it offers, it's sort of like in baseball where you can bring guys up from the minors and send them back down multiple times throughout a year. You get so many options to send a guy back down. Same with this. With